Antibiotics are wonderful.
Good morning. We'll go ahead and call the regular session of the Yuma County Board of Supervisors, also sitting as all special taxing districts, December 21, 2020, 9 a.m. Board members will attend either in person or by telephone or remotely via electronic conferencing, as we have by telephone, on the telephone, Chairman Tony Reyes.
That's right. Thank you.
Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and Supervisor Mahal, can you please lead us?
Yes, thank you. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
Of the United States of America
and to the republic
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
We'll go ahead and move on to call to the public. Call to the public is held for public benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute 38-431.01H, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited or directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or rescheduling the matter for further discussion and decisions at a future date. Anyone who is concerned about COVID-19 and does not want to be put into an open sitting can submit an email, call to the public statement at publiccomment@yumacountyaz.gov. These emails, forms of public comment will be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. All public comments will be read out loud during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors meeting that starts at 9 a.m. Do we have any emails or no?
Yes, we do.
Good morning,
Good morning.
members of the board. My name is Felicia Frausto, Yuma County Human Resources Director. And I'm up here today to inform you of our upcoming, or our challenge that we currently have with Amberley's Place. As of December 7th through January 7th, we are doing a sock and blanket drive. And we just wanted to make all of our county employees aware that this is a challenge that we have with all the departments and offices. And so our intention is to, after January 7th, we will then present our top 3 departments and offices who have been so generous to contribute during this time so that we can help benefit our community. So just wanted to keep everybody aware of where we're at this time.
Thank you for your support of
How long does it go for?
It's going from, it started December 7th and it will end on January 7th.
In January, Center.
So for a full month.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, yeah, we got a call to the public. JP, go ahead, JP.
Morning, members of the board. My name is JP Mann. I come here today representing AG Network Solutions. You guys have seen me a couple times over the last 18 months or so. I've acquired a special use permit, some rezoning, all related to internet and broadband services in the county. I saw last week in the paper, actually, the staff report by Paul Melcher regarding broadband services, and I had read that's the county's number 3 priority moving forward. We've actually, so I wanted to come and address the group and partner with the board in Yuma County because we're working on achieving the same goals. In 2020, we've installed hard connection fiber to residences in Tacna, Roll, the Yuma Mesa, and the town of Weldon. We've worked with staff to to help a agriculture operation that found itself on the outskirts of town. Yeah, it's a 30-year-old operation with adjacent 100 acres in production that didn't have sustainable broadband internet. It's hard to do business in that, in that setting in 2020. We were able to get that gentleman and get that operation temporary solution in a mobile cell tower for a number of months before we were able to work with staff to have a permanent solution in
Build.
structured cell tower, permanent cell tower. We can provide a gigabyte of fiber. We're currently working on the area south of County 16th Street to improve access to residents in that area. And I talked about the mobile cell tower earlier. I think that some of the things Mr. Melcher brought up, we can help the county and the school districts, rural residents, rural businesses achieve. I just wanted to come and identify myself, and I'd like to work with the county too, if appropriate. I saw something about a fiber plan and a broadband internet plan. And if there's an opportunity for a citizens group, I'd be willing to work with the county staff on that also. I brought some, some basically a business card, some contact information for myself, and kind of some of the services that we can help provide. I don't know if
Ian's getting a card for you.
Okay. Okay, great.
So,
Yeah, is there any questions from the board?
well,
Mr. Chairman, this is a call to the public. You won't be able to discuss this item, unfortunately.
you'll
Can I
be
just
you'll
have
be
the
hearing, and I'm sure when it comes out, you'll hear about it. Anything that the county's going to do, and you'll have that opportunity.
Yeah, I just wanted to come and identify myself.
Can I
Yep.
have your business name again so I can write it down?
AG Network Solutions.
Thank you.
We're 100% locally owned and operated. We have customers and are doing the same thing you guys are aiming to do right now.
Thank you,
Thank you.
JP.
Thank you.
We also have Everett Dawson. He wants to come up and
There was somebody
Or-
sitting outside. Was that Everett? Right up here at
right
the
over here in the front.
microphone. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Everett Dawson. I'm with Bill Alexander Ford, Lincoln and Yuma.
Proceed.
Yes.
Okay, I'm here to,
You're welcome to take off the mask if you wish.
no, it's all right, I'll leave the mask on. I'm here to kind of present my case and my dissatisfaction with the recent award of vehicles to Santan Ford. And of course, admittedly, we did some things wrong, but the reason that I'm here today is because I had asked to vacate that award and reconsider our presentation, where the two items that were submitted in our bid were not on their bid, but they were on the original quotation that was provided to us from the Yuma County Sheriff's Office. And in an effort to try to give them what it is they want, I mean, we just gave them the same bid that we had given them before. I don't know if there's a possibility to cancel the previous order and review ours again. I had proposed that you take those two items off of our bid and we would be the lowest bidder, or ask to have their bid looked at again with those two items on there. The two items were, of course, the electronic locking axle and the 110 volt, 400 watt outlet. There are other reasons that I believe the board should consider buying local. Typically a vehicle that's introduced to the market, such as this 2021 Ford, will be issued recalls, and sometimes there are limited number of parts. Those items are allocated based on sold VINs by that dealer. In the event that that were to occur, we wouldn't be given enough of those parts, supplied those parts to take care of our entire market. So there's other residual effects that come down the line from not buying local. outside of the fact that Santan Ford does not employ a single soul in Yuma. They don't pay any property tax. They don't do anything to support our local community. I believe it would be in the best interest, if any way possible, for the board to reconsider their award.
Thank you, Everett.
Okay. Thank you.
Susan?
Good morning, Vice Chairman Porches, members of the board, and Chairman Reyes on the phone. I am pleased to, it's bittersweet that this is Russell McLeod's last meeting on the Board of Supervisors. And I'm sure that he's gotten lots of plaques with gavels and all sorts of things on it. So we wanted to come up with something a little bit different. Actually, Chairman Reyes came up with the idea, and Public Works, Josh Scott and his team came up with some ideas, and we created a little something for Russell that we wanted to present.
Oh, thank you.
On behalf of the Board of Supervisors and all county staff.
Oh.
That's different. I have nothing like that.
No taking it off and playing with it on your desk.
Right.
And, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Tony.
I just want to warn him that we can take it back. It'll be county property forever. We just wanted to give him a small reminder in his office how useful he could be when he wants to be, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, it took a lot of work and effort to get him to be what he is now, but, I just wanted to say that I'll miss him. And, I appreciated all the years that you gave the county and how well you did your job. So you will not be forgotten, at least not by all of us who had a chance to work with you. Russell, we'll miss you really much, a bunch.
Well, that's very kind, Mr. Chairman. It's been an honor and a privilege to be able to serve with you and the rest of the board. To all the staff, I want to just say they're amazing people. We just have amazing staff who do a great job. So much of it's behind the scenes, and so you're all really, really very much appreciated. And, enjoyed working with all of the board members, current and past. And I'd like to say, Mr. Chairman, we barb each other a lot, especially you barbing me. Over 16 years, there's been a lot of it.
But is the ties, Russell? The ties.
But, Mr. Chairman, never once did I ever feel disrespected. I always knew it was in good fun and always enjoyed it. So I appreciate that. As well as when 16 years ago, when I first came on the board, I didn't have a clue, what we do and how we do it. And the chairman was very kind, sat next to me and helped guide me along. And so it's been a great run, and I really appreciate it. And all of the departments, been just great to work with. So thank you very much. Josh, very clever. Thank you.
Once again, Chairman, Vice Chairman, members of the board, and Chairman Reyes on the phone. We have another very special recognition for someone who's been with the county for many, many years and has been a mentor to many other elected officials and staff, and will be sorely missed. And hopefully he will be available for consultation, and that would be Joe Worley, our county assessor. Joe has been with us for 35 years as deputy assessor, and then as the assessor since 1992. So he's got a lot of stories to tell.
Thank you, Susan. Good morning, members of the board. Actually, I've been with the county for 44 years. I started here in '77 under Alberta Smith and worked for about 8 years. Left for a short period of time, but during that period of time, I was still under contract with the county. So I really consider that I never left. So in reality, it's been 4 years that I've been with the county. So anyway, it's been a real pleasure working with you and all the other board members, and you know, lots of things that need to go out to a lot of people, but especially the public that entrusted me for all these years. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I now get to pursue my my lifelong dream of playing drums in a rock and roll band.
Oh, all right.
Hit the road.
All right.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Thanks, Joe.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Go ahead, Tony.
Tony,
I just wanted to say that I thought this day would never come. No, Worley has been warning us for years he was going to retire. I never believed him. I still don't know if he's going to come back, if he's under contract or if he's coming back. But I do want to tell him, though, that there was a lot of times where we just didn't understand what was going on, and he was just like he was like an attorney. He would always come in and tell us what to do. It's appreciated. We learned a lot through his counsel, and just want to say that, it's a big loss for the county, Joe, and it's a big loss for us personally to see you go. But we hope and wish you the best in whatever you decide to do. You're a very young man, and I'm sure you will find ways throughout the rest of what you want to do. Hopefully you'll keep us informed, and we'll enjoy them as you enjoy them yourself. Thank you very much for your years of service, Joe. It's appreciated. It really is. We're going to miss you.
Thank you. You sure you don't want to hear my speech about the Board of Equalization again?
I am sure I don't want to hear that again. But if you want to, you still have the right before you leave.
No, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Vice Chairman,
Yes, go ahead.
if I may. Thanks, Joe. It's been a nice ride. And you reminded me of something that I left out. And two things. Number one, all of the other electeds I had the privilege of working with. And the citizens have done a great job of electing really good people and moving the county forward and putting us where Yuma County is well respected across the state. And I appreciate that. And then, of course, I neglected to thank the citizens who voted to allow me to have this position. It's been a privilege and an honor, and I thank the public who allowed me to serve here. So thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Well, I thanks again, Joe, for always being there when I had a question. You would get back to me right away. Thank you. Thanks for all the years of service to the county. Supervisor McLeod, the same thing. I mean, it's been a pleasure working along your side and learning the things to do and the things not to do. So, but no, thanks. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I appreciate that very much.
Anybody else call to the public? I'll leave the call to the public open and move on to presentations, proclamations, and appointments. Do we have any?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I have two appointments. I have Tim Eiselman. I can't ever say it without looking at it. To reappoint him to the Board of Adjustments. Eisman? Eisman, okay. And then I would like to thank Alicia Aguirre for serving on the Yuma County Planning and Zoning for a number of years. And she's recently gotten married, and she has decided to step down. And Bobby McDermott has agreed to serve on the Yuma County Planning and Zoning. And I'd like to submit her name as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? No comments? Okay. Moving on to presentation of the county line, Yuma 77.
Successful Futures Program graduates. Successful Futures Program graduates received their certificates at an outside drive-by. Looking for legal forms that the law library provides? you can now access them online. And most county offices will be closed for the holidays. We'll share the dates. These stories and more, this is your County Line. The Kids at Hope program, born out of the Yuma County Juvenile Courts, hasn't stopped during COVID-19. It has only caused staff to rethink curriculum delivery in order to continue helping young people focus on a positive future. Recently, 14 young people graduated from the Successful Futures program. Staff ensured they received their certificates during an outdoor drive-by graduation, led by Judge Catherine Stocking Tate and members of the Successful Futures team.
It was absolutely important to be able to formally recognize the kids and celebrate their success, but also do so safely in the midst of this pandemic. So we really had to think outside of the box, and I'm really proud of our team who come up with the idea to have a drive-through graduation where we could celebrate the success of the youth, but also do so in a safe manner.
The 10-week program includes many activities focusing around life's 4 destinations by creating a vision board of their future. Budgeting was one facet where they learned to manage money. Interviewing skills and career exploration were all part of the curriculum. 2 of the participants received the Superstar Award for going above and beyond during their learning experience. And thanks to safety measures implemented, no COVID issues interfered with the program or graduation. The Law Library serves the public and legal community by providing access to legal information. While they do not give legal advice, they can help with many things, including forms. There's a new access link on the Law Library webpage, where anyone can access forms for things like family law, probate matters, civil law, criminal law, and juvenile law.
Sometimes not all the people have the time to come to the law library to pick up the forms in person, so it's going to be more convenient for them to go to our website and print them out.
The Law Library is a resource for everyone. For more information, you can visit yumacountyaz.gov and find them under Superior Courts.
I'm Elia Juarez, and this is your library update. The Arizona State Library and the Yuma County Library District are turning regular citizens just like you into scientists. Thanks to a grant from the Arizona State Library, the Yuma County Library District now has 5 citizen science kits available for checkout for any patron over the age of 8 years old. The Heritage Library has a kit on light pollution available, and the kits available at the Welton Library have to do with zombie bees, air pollution, biodiversity, and pollinators. The kits contain everything you need to conduct real-world science experiments where your data will be shared with real scientists to help them in their projects. To check out these kits, all you need to do is visit the Heritage or Welton Library during our regular opening hours, which you can find on our website, yumalibrary.org. For more information on what's going on at the library, make sure to follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, YouTube.
Please remember your county government offices will be closed for both Friday, December 25th and Friday, January 1st, so county employees can enjoy the holidays with their family. We hope you'll enjoy yours the same way. And as we head out for our final county line of the year, we all know COVID-19 numbers are higher than ever before in Yuma County. Yuma County Health District Director Diana Gomez is asking for all of us to help slow the spread and eliminate this virus.
There has been a huge increase in COVID-19 cases in the past few days. The pandemic is hitting Yuma County hard. If we do not stem the tide soon, we will overwhelm available medical services at a time when we need them the most. We all want to return to normal, and we all want our economy and our schools to open. And of course, we want to protect our families and friends from the pandemic. Our best medical experts are clear. If we fail, there will be even worse consequences for our families and our economy. We all have a personal responsibility to slow the spread of the pandemic and eliminate this virus as quickly as possible. Therefore, it's imperative that we take an effective, fact-based approach by doing things like wearing face masks and practicing social distancing. It's not just about you. It's about your family, your friends, and the people you care about most. You're keeping them safe, and they're keeping you safe. Let's do what needs to be done now so we can return to a strong economy and normal lives. This is hard, but we can do it. It is the Yuma County way.
We'll go ahead and move on to the consent calendar. The following items listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action.
Mr. Vice Chairman?
Yes.
I'd like to pull number 12.
Number 12?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to pull number 4.
Number 4?
Yes.
Anybody else? Is there a motion?
So moved.
A second.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lynn.
Tony was first, and either one of us were second.
There's a
Russell
motion
or I.
to approve items 1 to 13 with the exception of 4 and 12. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Vice Chair, I just wanted to make sure that we recognize the contribution of the Quechan Indian Tribe, 4th Yuma, that they allow us to sort of distribute these funds into the community at this particular time of the year when there's so much food insecurity and there's so much going on where there's so many needs out in the community. It really feels nice, and I want to thank the tribe on behalf of Yuma County for the opportunity they give us to transfer these funds to this much-needed programs. So I just wanted to acknowledge their contribution. I believe it's something they have to do, but they don't have to do it this way. So thank you to the tribe, and hopefully this money will be well used to provide for some of those needy residents in Yuma County that I'm sure are hurting for these services. So I just wanted to have that point of recognition, and if it's okay with everybody else, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 4 as presented. We've asked the representatives from the Salvation Army or the Yuma Community Food Bank not to actually attend the meeting because of the COVID protocols that we have established, but I'm sure that they're appreciative of the support they're getting. So Merry Christmas, and hopefully, again, this will get to people before that particular holiday.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to approve item number 4 as presented. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item number 12.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Just a comment, probably for Susan or other staff, but here we are buying another vehicle out of town. And it's frustrating myself personally, and I assume the rest of the board. And so my question is, I wonder, is there a way that we could meet with these vendors and maybe provide help or guidance so we can start landing these locally? Okay? I'd like to see if there's that possibility. What could be done? Let's examine why we're losing these bids and what we may be able to do working together so that so we can get more of these things purchased locally. That's all. I didn't have any concern with it other than that. I know it went through the process And that's what's frustrating. There's a process, the local people keep losing out. Thank you.
I agree with you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair and Russell, I agree with Russell. I have a really hard time with this.
Yeah, it's disappointing. So we'd love to support our local business. With that, though, I move that we accept item 12 as presented.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to discussion and action items. The board will open each of the following items separately for discussion and action as appropriate. Item number 1, County Administration, Yuma Regional Medical Center, discussion and possible action regarding COVID-19 updates and activities. Diana?
Good morning.
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 Diana Gomez, Director of Public Health. I want to start by introducing Dr. Robert Trenchel. He is here from Yuma Regional Medical Center. He agreed to come and visit us today to discuss. There's been a lot of conversation about the need for an alternative care site in Yuma County. And as you know, the team at YRMC has been working really hard for months now, making sure that the residents of Yuma County get the best possible care they can get. So the challenge when we've had these discussions before remains staffing and not space. So I wanted to just have Dr. Trenchel here and kind of go over some of those logistics just to explain what that is. And so without any further ado, Dr. Trenchel.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Chairman Reyes, supervisors, Ms. Thorpe, others, honored to be here today to talk about this. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has during the process. So, as Ms. Gomez said, an alternative care site or a field hospital wouldn't really help where we are right now. The issue that we're having at the hospital right now, and really hospitals all over the country, is a staffing issue. We have available beds, we have available space where we could put additional beds, but we don't have nurses to staff those beds. And it's the nursing issue that's really the biggest issue, not so much even the physician issue, but it's really a nursing issue. So we've gone to team nursing models and other models to help expand the nurses that we have, the care that they're able to provide. We are on the list for the surge line, Arizona surge line, which has been very helpful, but unfortunately everybody in Arizona is in the same boat. So we've been approved for 30 nurses for med-surg, 20 nurses for ICU through the Arizona surge line. That's an 8-week assignment, but they've got to get here. And we don't get them in bulk. They just come in onesie, twosie, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. We don't know when they're coming. We've also been moved up high on the list for a DMAT team to come from the federal government. We've been approved for 20 med-surg nurses and 20 ICU nurses, which will be very helpful. But again, they've got to find those individuals and bring them here. We believe, or we understand, we should be getting those individuals end of this year, early next. So within the next 4 weeks, they should be on deck. The problem we've had in the past with that previously is that sometimes we get told we're being sent something, or an individual with, say, ICU level care, and we may get a pediatrician. So those are the things that happen in reality on the ground. So, but to to reiterate the point about a field hospital or an alternative site of care, we don't have the staff to staff that. We don't have the extra equipment to equip that, whether it's from a nursing perspective, a physician perspective, or an equipment perspective. So, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I can go into more detail too. I could talk forever, but I'm here at your discretion.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Dr. Trenchel, first off, thanks for taking the time to be here today. Would you just give us a small snapshot of where we are today?
Sure. So we've got 153 COVID patients in the hospital today. We've got a total census, I believe, of 283 patients in the hospital today, which is high for us this time of year. The COVID deaths or the successful discharges of COVID home are over 1,600, which is the good news. The bad news is we've had over 250 deaths, due to COVID at the hospital. So that's the bad news. Transfers out take time. If we need to transfer a patient out of the emergency department to another ICU because we don't have room in our ICU, it may take up to 30 to 40 hours. And, the situation as it sits right now, it may change in an hour because in ICU beds around the state, I know there's been a lot of social media postings about that. They alternate all the time. It's a very fluid situation. If a patient gets discharged or unfortunately expires, that opens up an additional space in an ICU somewhere in the state, to bring somebody to. But the transfers out, the surge line for the state has been great. It's been very supportive. The problem is there's just no room.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, my understanding is that some units are being shut down so that you will have more COVID beds. Can you elaborate on that a little more, please?
Sure. What we've done is we've stopped all of our elective surgeries. So we've done that voluntarily because we're utilizing those nurses, in fact, to staff the floor and to staff the ICU where it's appropriate. Our PACU nurses, our cardiac cath nurses, our interventional radiology nurses all could work in the ICU. So we've shut down those areas to only emergent cases and urgent cases, and so all electives have stopped. And we're utilizing that nursing staff in other areas. Also in the ambulatory environment, we utilize those RNs that we've educated throughout the course of the year to work back in the hospital when it's necessary and appropriate, for those individuals as well to work on the floors. They may not work as the other RNs are working. They may be medication or documentation or something else, but it helps our expand the nursing pool that we have. So we haven't, I don't know that we've shut anything down. We've certainly clamped it down to only emergence. And it may come to that, but it wouldn't be anything that's hospital related. It would be mostly outpatient related.
Mr. Vice Chair and Doctor, do you have levels like level 1, level 2, level 3? Do you have it all set up, and where are you at on that?
We do. I'm not sure the level we're at today, unfortunately. I can get that for you. We are in a disaster planning mode right now. So we've got our incident command set up every day. So we have an incident commander on site every day. I don't believe we're at our highest level, but we're close to it. We call it disaster staffing is really what we call it. So we've got our incident command set up. We have the incident commander that rotates weekly, and we have a COVID meeting with physicians, nursing staff, and administration that occurs once or twice a week as well. So, but we're at almost our highest level, and the current trajectory is unsustainable. I mean, it really is. So we're at the good news is that our COVID census today and over the last couple days has been a little lower than we projected, so that's good. So viruses, don't read administrative reports, and they don't read textbooks. They kind of act how they want. Historically, it's exceeded our expectations in terms of where we were going to be with COVID by a significant amount. Now it seems to be dipping a little bit. I don't know why that is, but we'll take it while it's here.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it'll change. And so that's where we are.
Okay. Thank you.
The vaccines did arrive today, so that's the great news.
Oh, they did. Woo-hoo.
So that'll be for our staff and first responders.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Diana. Yes.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Go ahead and get Tony.
Go ahead, Tony.
Okay. Dr. Trenchel, thank you for the report. How are you doing with PPE and with therapeutics, medicine, remdesivir, plasma, mononuclearic? Some of the terminology I just think I can't come up to, but are you okay with that? Are you okay with your PPE service, with your therapeutics to treat people? Is that a problem at all?
I have trouble with some of the terminology too, Chairman, so don't feel bad. But it's we are fine with PPE. PPE we've really done staff have done a really good job with from a personal protective equipment perspective. The masks, N95 masks, are on back order again, but we've got enough of what we call the P100 masks, so they're even actually more effective than the N95s. Some people don't like to wear them because they fit a little different, but they're actually more effective. So we've distributed that to staff. So PPE we're good with. Ventilators we're good with. Remdesivir, which is the most common medication that's given for COVID on an inpatient setting, we're fine with that. We did receive, I believe, about 30 doses of the antibody. I can't pronounce the name, but of the antibody, and that's for outpatients. It's not for inpatients. So we have received that. We'll be giving that out, obviously, according to guidelines. So from a medication perspective, we're doing okay. There's actually been a shortage of fentanyl around the country, which we use for ventilated patients to keep them sedated, and some other medications that are really peripherally COVID related. But we've been fortunate in the fact that we're able to source those from multiple places, and we haven't run into a situation where we haven't been able to treat somebody because of a lack of medication, which we're thankful for.
Good.
I just had a couple of questions. How many do we have from out of county in our hospital? Because I know Imperial County's pretty much, they're full.
Yeah, they are. You know, we don't really track, and I don't get reports. I mean, I'm sure we could pull it somewhere where patients are coming from, whether it's either out of county, out of state, or out of country. We just, whoever shows up at our door, we're obligated to treat. So we don't really track where they're from. We could probably get that information. My sense is it's mostly in county. That's what my sense is. It's mostly in county. I don't think we're getting a lot from El Centro or Imperial County, but we haven't looked at the data for that either, though.
Okay. What and this I don't know if you or if Diane answered this one. How come the numbers, we've seen such a fluctuation where we get a report of 1,000 and then the next day they're pulling back numbers from that?
In terms of testing, or positive tests?
Positive tests.
That I can't answer. You know, we report, I think, daily to the county the numbers that we have in the hospital. In terms of what happens in the community and the numbers in the community, say perhaps from the jail or others, I can't comment on that.
And I can actually answer that. So every test that is administered is actually reported to via lab electronic reporting. So what happens is we make sure that, that goes in the system. Sometimes there is a glitch in the system. Sometimes cases are mistakenly attributed to a county based on how they're entered into the system. So for example, to acknowledge Monday's high numbers, we went back, we saw that, and we saw that some of those cases were in fact duplicated. So those are reported by testing facilities, including YRMC, but any lab, any state lab that is currently, or any facility that's currently testing, if they're enter the information and for some reason attribute it to the, which sometimes happens, like everybody else, people are hiring new staff, and the system worked, we were able to catch it, and we were able to trace the source, and we were able to explain what happened, which was there was an entry inappropriately done by one of the testing facilities. So we were able to catch it the next day. I know it's part of the balances system, and I know there's been a lot of questions here about duplication. That's exactly what happened in that instance, and that's exactly how it was caught. Well, the system worked the way it was supposed to. So to acknowledge that, that's how that's reported.
Like I said, I'm just looking mainly, just give us a clear picture locally of what exactly our numbers are and how things are looking at the hospital. If it's all local people, or if we're getting some from from California or from Mexico or wherever else.
No, if I'm not mistaken, if I may.
Go ahead.
If I'm not mistaken, Diana, you don't produce those numbers. The state does, and you
That is correct.
report.
Those numbers are directly reported. Every entity that conducts testing is required to report those numbers. So those are not produced by our office. Our job is to make sure we go into the surveillance system, and the state has a system in place too. So when we caught that, that's the anomaly that we look for, and we do that on a daily basis, and sometimes it's one or two, and sometimes they're right spot on. But that's part of the careful, time-consuming process that goes into verifying that data is accurate.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out because I've heard people say, well, what's wrong with our health department? Well, it's not our health department.
Yeah. And that's the reason I wanted to bring this up, because I've gotten several calls of people, making comments, why, we're this number and then numbers are pulled back, and
yeah,
Yeah, our job is to report the numbers. Our job is to make sure that that data is verifiable and that it's accurate. Our job is to make sure that we follow up, we trace the source. But yeah, from a surveillance piece, everybody else, everybody's reporting, everybody's onboarding new people. It happens as people are building their capacity, people are hiring new staff. And again, it was an error that was caught and was, explained as to why the reason is, but yes, to your point.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out,
Thank you.
it's not Ms. Gomez that is making these errors, but I appreciate you following up.
Thank you.
I know you guys are doing the best,
Great
quite frankly,
job.
a great job, so thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Crenshaw?
I have.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Vice Chair and Doctor, when you were saying antibodies, does that mean the plasma? Is that what you're talking about?
We have no, it's different. We have a robust plasma program that our staff have done great with and our physicians. So we've got the immune plasma program in effect. But there's a new medication that came out, I think it was about 2 weeks ago. It's MAB is the last three letters. It's what was used for President Trump and some others. We got a small supply. As we can source it, we'll get it. It's very effective on an outpatient basis, but there's right now that's all we have.
Okay.
But that's different than the immune plasma.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Doctor, so who do you use the immune plasma on? Inpatients?
I can't give you the particulars. There's a research protocol that's involved with that we work with Mayo on, and there are I can't tell you the specifics of who the characteristics of those patients.
Thank you.
From a health perspective.
Any more questions? Well, Doctor, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Really
I
appreciate
the
it.
support of the county, the city, and all of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Thank you so much. All right, so just to give you an update, as Dr. Trenchel said, our vaccine did arrive this morning. So again, we're excited to be there was a direct allocation to Yuma Regional Medical Center, Sunset, and Regional Center for Border Health. Again, those are the largest clinical networks. We will be working with individual providers to make sure that they have an allocation or that they are part of sponsored clinics that are led by the health district. So again, right now we are looking at patient care, healthcare providers, and first responders. We are getting the Moderna vaccine, which is a vaccine that's administered in 2 doses. It's approved for those over the age of 16. It's administered in those 2 doses, 28 days apart. So we see that again as a beginning, as another tool. Again, Dr. Trenchel discussed some therapeutics that are now available. As far as treating, we're in a better place than we were months ago. We know more. But again, it doesn't mean that we're out of the woods. It doesn't mean that this vaccine is the final answer. It's important for everybody to continue to practice, the mitigation strategies that we have in place. That again is what keeps us safe. That's what keeps your loved ones safe. That's what keeps our businesses open. So again, another plea on behalf of the businesses. If you go to the businesses, they're allowed to stay open because they've agreed to adhere to those guidelines. They've agreed to enforce the mask wearing, the hygiene, the social distancing. So when you go there and you support them, please acknowledge that and please don't have them remind you. It's difficult. Nobody likes to be the bad guy, but that is why they're allowed to operate. Everybody, we're all doing our best. So, from a public health perspective, we continue to push out PPE. We continue to make sure that we have the supplies and those things for the people that are out there doing the job protecting the public. And we'll continue to do that. But again, my plea again is to please bear with us a little longer. We will start those clinics, and once we get through all the 1A, which is the first responders, we will move on to, the 1B, which is the essential workers. As part of the expanded vaccine for 1A strategy deployment, nursing facilities, skilled nursing facilities are partnering with local pharmacies who will go in there and vaccinate that staff. So again, we're moving in the right direction. We're in a better place as far as having additional tools in the toolbox. But again, it's not over yet, and it'll take a while, and it'll take all of us working together. So thank you for everybody's patience, and thank you for everybody hanging in there, and thank you for everybody that's just doing their very best to take care of the patients and the people, so that we can continue to ensure that our critical healthcare infrastructure is in place for those people that need it.
Mr. Vester.
Go ahead.
Diana, either for you or Dr. Trenchel, some comments that I've heard are, Well, what happens if everybody who gets the vaccine is sick for 2 or 3 days? What happens to our hospital? I'm pretty sure those are being staggered, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, and every entity has a plan in place. They have plans for, for staggering the vaccine. And again, that's part of their preparedness protocol. I could tell that those facilities, I could tell you that YMC, Regional Center, Sunset, they've been active in testing, helping treat for, their clinical networks. They've been treating patients. They have their preparedness plan in place, and I'm very confident that they will move forward in a way that will ensure them to continue to provide those services.
Right, yeah, they'll segment it out instead of just everybody getting a shot
There's a lot
today.
of planning that goes into it.
Yeah, I've heard those comments, and so for the public, I wanted them to be aware that that's been thought about and planned. And,
Yes, and there is, based on the information that we have, based on vaccine administration and the trial groups, we know that you could experience some side effects that are consistent with other vaccination, meaning soreness at the injection site, maybe some achy muscles, but nothing outside of what we've, been seeing. There's indications, there's guidance, there's a pre-screening checklist that we will ask you to complete if you are getting a vaccine, and that's just to make sure that we've taken anything into account, because again, there's exceptions to every rule, and we want to make sure that, the administration of the vaccine is done in a safe manner that's appropriate for that specific individual.
And also, if I may?
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like the public to understand this is an enormous undertaking, and the amount of tracking that's going to be required through your department. Once again, I have complete confidence you're going to do a great job, but the logistics of this are simply enormous. And keeping track, you got to get the vaccine, the second shot at a certain period of time, either 20 or 28, depending on the vaccine. So that's a whole logistical issue in and of itself. As I said, I have every confidence you'll pull it off, but this is a huge undertaking.
And we ask people to, please, check in. We will be sharing information as it becomes available. Again, for the general public, that, we're going through those prioritization groups that were identified by the CDC, as well as an advisory group, as through the Arizona Department of Health Services. So not everybody will get the vaccine right away. Again, there is that wait period. So again, that's why it's important. On our end, we'll work with the logistics. Our goal from the very beginning is to make sure that we support public health is the support system for everybody else. And so we want to make sure we're there, and we want to make sure that we have an equitable deployment. And we're very fortunate here in our community to have had Sunset Regional Center and YRMC stand up testing and do those kind of things in our community. For a rural community, that's critical. And so thank you to those partners. And we will be partnering. We've had a lot of interest and outreach by students, nursing students who will be helping us vaccinate, paramedics, EMTs. And so thank you to all of them, because this is going to be a team effort. And we are going to need everybody's help and continued partnership to make sure that we have these points of dispensing throughout the county, so that it's a fair and equitable distribution to residents, regardless of where in the county you live.
Yeah, once again, in Yuma County, the way agencies cooperate is going to shine. We do it as well or better than anybody else. So I'm proud of being part of a community like that. Thank you, Diana.
I have one more question, Mr. Vice Chair. Diana, how long does it take it to go into effect once you've had the shot? I know in a flu shot, you're not protected for like 2 weeks or something
Right.
like that.
So we expect the same thing. Typically when you get a vaccine, it takes your body up to 2 weeks to develop immunity. In this instance, this is a 2-dose vaccine, and we have other 2-dose vaccines. So we've seen that before.
Shingles, yeah.
Like shingles vaccine, a perfect example. And so this is like that. So the first shot is meant to have your body recognize the virus and start building the immunity. The second dose is what really boosts your immunity. So to your point, you need both doses to get the full immunity. So if you get the first dose, it doesn't mean, even after 2 weeks, it doesn't mean that you are 100% protected. You still need, it is possible for you to contract the virus. And so again, you need those 2 doses. And because we're going to have guidelines and we're going to have information to share, but again, even if you've had the virus before, we're recommending you get the vaccine. But yes, in between that gap, it is imperative that you continue to, practice, your mask wearing and social distancing and taking care of yourself. And I think, it's important for people to realize that when we tell you that we're telling you to take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. You know, everybody, you know, as heads of households, as family members, we've all had a relative. And so, you know, we most of us have had close encounters. In the beginning, it was, you know, somebody that you heard. Now it's somebody you know. It's hit that close to home for most of us. So again, please take care of yourself so that you are there to take care of your loved ones when they need you. And please help us stop the spread so that the nurses and doctors and therapists that are in the hospital providing critical care can ensure that those mechanisms, those resources, that staffing is there to take care of anybody else in the community who needs critical care. And it might not just be COVID. We want to make sure that people here have access to that care. So please help us support those nurses, those therapists, those people that are working so incredibly hard day in and day out by practicing those social mitigation strategies.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much.
Doctor.
Yes.
Good report. Moving on to item number 2, County Administration Public Works, discussion and action to adopt resolution number 2020-54, adopting the Yuma County Parks Master Plan as presented or as amended.
Morning.
Morning.
Vice Chair,
Morning.
to the
Morning.
board. Susan Thorpe here.
Morning.
I'm here standing in for Tiffany Anderson. I want to thank Tiffany for all the work that she did on the Parks Master Plan. She did a great job of doing research, providing best practices from other places, incorporating other plans that might inform Yuma County. And I'd also thank Barbara Kavanaugh, who's the chairman of the Parks and Recreation Commission, who provided some very important and helpful feedback about the plan, and you'll see those recommendations included in the plan that you have in your packet, and then we'll go over briefly in the presentation. So, as I mentioned, she did a lot of background planning and looked at these resources in order to create the updated Parks Master Plan. The last master plan that was done was 2006. So it's definitely in need of updating and getting into the most recent types of documents and recommendations from other sources such as the comprehensive plan, the 5-year strategic plan, statewide plans, and the economic development plan.
You don't have to go so fast. Tony's not here.
So we started with an assessment, and it's in the plan about what our current assets are. So we identified each of the parks that Yuma County currently has and what type of park they are, according to the definitions that are standard for parks. We have, as you see there, 6 parks that are of different types and varieties. We did an assessment, as you know, of Gadsden Park, and a number of budgetary items were included by the board to make some improvements there. And then we identified alternative providers that are able to do that provide assets that Yuma County residents can use and enjoy. So Tiffany also did an analysis of trends for parks and amenities that the demographics of our area are mostly interested in and seeing in the future. So consideration for the future, she identified various issues that are needed, improving and enhancing our existing parks, bringing them up to standards, and then potentially looking for future park amenities based on the needs and interests of the community. So the plan includes the types of facilities that we might want to consider in the future. One of the additions that the Parks and Recreation Commission came up with is at the bottom. It's called a pump bicycle skills track. And that came through a discussion that they had with the bicycling community. It's a way to learn skills for young people to learn bicycle skills. It's also for agility with more experienced bicyclists. You create a track. It's not a BMX track, but similar to that kind of thing where it's specific to bicycling. And so that was included by the Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission. And then there were Tiffany researched other types of funding, because all we've done at this point is we've developed our parks through grants, And then we've partnered with nonprofits to operate those parks. And in some cases, the nonprofit has not been able to invest in the park to maintain it. So that we've got these agreements that we're making now. And then short-term recommendations on page 32. That's, let's see, 36. So short-term recommendations are on page 37 of the plan. And the original plan did not include this, but the Parks and Recreation Commission added making park repairs a priority and make sure that we include funding in each annual budget to make repairs, create a schedule for maintenance, and evaluate every 6 months condition of those parks to make sure that they are staying up to standards, and to address any issues by assigning a staff person to keep track of those facilities. The recommendations also include the donated property from Shepherd Family Trust to create a dog park. It's situated very well for that. And short-term recommendation number 3 was about the Foothills Complex Development Plan, and the Parks and Recreation Commission recommended a specific first phase to include installation of turf and a walking path to get people out and about and able to take advantage of the passive recreation, and then add some trees.
Susan, can you raise your voice a little bit? You're cutting off too much.
He can't hear you.
You can follow along in your packet for the PowerPoint.
Oh, I am, but it's delayed. I need to follow you when you're talking.
Yeah,
I can see the stuff.
Tell where you are.
Okay, so so we're still on page 37, which was the first phase of the Foothills Park, including installation of turf and a walking path, and then trees planted for shade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And under longer term recommendations, which are on page 38 of the plan, the Parks and Recreation Commission added a section under number 3 to include specific topics of discussion when we meet with our cities, state, and federal partners to address improving local hiking trails, exploring options for interconnectivity between cities via biking and walking trails, where the county can intervene between the two cities and connect those dots. And then explore conversion of unused rail right-of-way from Yuma to San Luis to trails. It's the rails to trails kind of concept. There have been grants available in the past, and I'm not sure where that is, but they do recommend that we explore that and see what the possibilities are. And then again, just conducting a study of other potential areas that are in unincorporated Yuma County that might be suitable for recreation. So those are the recommended, that is the plan as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Commission, and those additional pieces that they recommended are shown in yellow highlights in your draft plan. So you would adopt the plan as amended, or as presented, which includes the Parks and Recreation Commission's recommendations, or if there are other amendments that you would like to make here today, we could incorporate those as well. I would ask Ms. Kavanaugh if she'd like to come up and speak.
Sure.
Jesus.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice President. We have been meeting with a group of citizens from the foothills, and the formation of the Park Commission has really helped us to get a bigger view of what the needs are here in the county. And as we're growing in the county, I'm seeing new houses going up all the time. And the park system really needs to be not necessarily a park department, but we need to have parks as a priority for our citizens, for lifestyle. During this COVID, I'm one of the citizens of the foothills that lives here year round, and it would have been lovely to have a shady place to go and just be outside. And we have all this beautiful desert, but we don't have in the county areas, especially unincorporated areas. Here we have 30,000 people in the foothills area, and it's growing, and we don't have one park. So this was one of my reasons for getting involved in, and thank Mr. Simmons for appointing me to the commission. The commission is representing the whole of county, and some of you are fortunate enough to live in the incorporated areas of Yuma, San Luis, and Somerton, and have beautiful parks and facilities. But those of us in the unincorporated parts of the county, which is, our area of jurisdiction with the county of Yuma, have been limited. And I really hope and encourage you to support this plan, because she did a wonderful job in doing research and finding the main problem we probably have is the financing, and we need help with the staff on getting grant money or put it in your budget, as important as any of the areas that we represent for the lifestyle. People moving here, as far as economic development, you can imagine coming down the hill and seeing a beautiful park right there by the library would encourage people to move here. We're getting more families in the unincorporated areas, and there's a need. I have a great-grandson living in the foothills, and there's no place to take him to run on the grass. There's no grass. So the need is there, and the commission was uniform in what we have we need to make sure is maintained. That's why they wanted to have one person, not necessarily another staff person to be paid to do the particular, but somebody that is responsible for checking on the parks that the nonprofits have set up. And once the parks are established, especially in the foothills area with the many snowbirds that we have, I know we are not going to have any trouble getting people to participate. We've had several of the garden clubs volunteer to help us with landscaping plans and things like that. So I just encourage your support of this plan. I think it's important. We all know after all these months of being locked in, to have a little bit of grass is important for our mental well-being.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for serving on the commission, and it's a great start. I'm sure that the board, that's why we brought it up, and we've had discussions. So we're moving in a positive way.
Good.
So
Thank you very much.
Mr. Vice Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Chair.
I just want to thank not only staff, but Barbara and all the volunteers and all the appointments that we have made to the Parks and Recreation Department, not a department, but Parks and Recreation for the county. It's incredibly how much of a long way we've come from when we started with this discussion 20 some years ago. I mean, it was obvious to me back then that this day would come. And so it's really, I'm really happy to be present at the day that, something like this is in front of the board, because I've always thought that if there was one element missing from county services was this particular one, although there's still reluctance, and I can understand that, as we're simply very fiscally conservative, to open up a new area of expenses for the county. And I know that Supervisor McLeod understands what I'm talking about. It is, I think, time for us to step up and realize that if we're interested in the quality of life of our residents outside the cities and municipalities, we need to start looking at how we get them some sort of entertainment that doesn't require for them to come into towns or cities, and that takes advantage of the great natural diversity that is out there. So I do want to thank staff profusely, and I do want to thank all the members of the commission for their dedication to this. And I I want to try to encourage the rest of the board to realize that this is going to take for us to commit not only resources but funding to actually make things happen out there. I want to say that the welcome addition of Supervisor Simmons and Supervisor Porcias and Mrs. Pancrasi, I know that their understanding of what services are a little different because of where they come from. So I'm just going to wait for someone to make a motion to support it and start putting it, making it a plan of our budget every year. So thank you very much. And Susan, again, I want to thank you for taking the lead and making sure that this, and all the staff, that make sure that this wasn't one of those projects that we talk about a lot but never get to a point where we can do something about it. So thank you very much.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
If you'll indulge me, I have a litany of items to bring up. So, Susan, first, would you go back to the slides showing the short-term and long-term recommendations?
Thank you.
Okay, so all of those things there, I'm great with. Okay, just want to point that out before I start on my litany.
Okay.
And then the long term. So that's all well and good also. I like that. I think the commission did a good job. Okay, with that, I want to start into the plan itself. For the board, please go to page 227. And that would be page 7 of the plan. So I'll start out with paragraph RRPP3 about policies and regulations that encourage the development of parks and recreational facilities.
If I could clarify for the audience of what this is, the RRPP.
Yes.
So the
recreational resources.
Comprehensive plan that was developed
right.
In the Planning and Zoning Division identified has a number of sectors or sections. One is open space policies and priorities, which is OSPP. One is open space actions, which is OSA, and then community action groups that were invited to provide input to the staff identified what's called recreational resources, policies, and priorities. So this RRPP is the recreational resources, policies, and priorities that were identified by some community action groups as part of the comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Susan, for clarifying that for the public. So what I'm going to talk about here is parks. The problem I have with the plan as written is that and again, the short term is 2 parks in the foothills, and they've been asking for it forever. And if it weren't for state law, they can incorporate it as their own city if they wanted to. But it's a densely populated area of the unincorporated parts of the county. So I fully support those. I appreciate Supervisor Simmons' diligence on moving that forward. But in these paragraphs, it's encourage development of parks and recreational facilities. If we put that out to the public, they are going to expect that the county is going to be building facilities like Sanguinetti Park, Joe Henry Park, parks with grass and trees and ramadas. And the problem is, it's not so much building them, it's the maintenance that goes on forever to maintain them. And that's typically going to come out of property taxes, which, by the way, every city and town resident pays property taxes. So they'll be double taxed for parks. I would like the board to consider removing the word parks and, so it would read that encourage development of recreational facilities. That way they're not expecting us to build these large green parks. The City of Yuma's Parks Department is one of their top 3 budget items. It's a massive budget item. And I don't think the county should get there. People choose to live in the unincorporated areas, or you can choose to live in town next to these parks if that's what you want. Same thing with paragraph 4. Yuma County will promote parks by permitting flexibility. I just don't think that belongs. Paragraph 6. I would like to see the last part of that paragraph struck there where it says, and the establishment of new parks. We put this document out, like I said, people are going to expect we're going to go across the county and build parks. I don't think we should do. Paragraph 9. I would strike that. Again, that's going to make people believe that if they come to the board and say, I live outside of, Hyder, Tacna, you should build us a park. You're building the expectation that we would do that. Paragraph 11 shows how the expansion of this idea can take off when it says identify the need for athletic fields. The county should not be building athletic fields. That's a city, and the city has built magnificent ball fields, soccer fields. That's not a county function, in my opinion. I would like to see that struck. Paragraph 16. Yuma County will work with community leaders to facilitate the creation of parks in the Yuma Valley. There's going to be an expectation that we're going to build parks. And those are a huge financial burden. Next page. Paragraph 20. Develop impact fees on new development as a method of financing the construction of new parks, other recreational sources, and for preserving open space. Imagine what that does to the cost of a home in the unincorporated areas. Impact fees are for things like having to grow sewer and water systems. That belongs in an incorporated. Yuma County should not be developing impact fees, in my opinion, and I would love to see the board agree and strike that paragraph. Amend subdivision regulations, paragraph 24. Amend the subdivision regulations to require the establishment of parks with new development and create a mechanism that would provide for their upkeep. We do paragraph 20 and paragraph 24. You're going to bring a halt to development in the unincorporated areas. I think that's just, we shouldn't be anywhere near creating those kind of financial obligations. You saw, 1 or 2 meetings ago, where we had a developer in here, and the cost of putting in a turn lane killed their development. That's just a turn lane. Imagine having to develop parks, and then you're going to tax the people that live there for the upkeep. You're going to make development come to a screeching halt if you do this. Paragraph 27, designate areas within or near the Drysdale area to a land use designation that would promote the development of green areas, quotation marks, or parentheses, parks. So people who live there are going to expect you're going to build them a park and maintain it. Again, it's another large financial drain. I have to admit, Susan, you mentioned the 2020 comprehensive plan. I missed these items. Of course, it's a long document, and as I read through it, it probably didn't jump out at me, but RRA, Recreational Resources Action, paragraph 1, identify all county-owned land that has potential to be developed into a park. Well, I'd like the board to consider the next time we look at this, maybe strike that. I don't think we should be building parks and creating a new department and a new burden on our taxpayers. And paragraph 3, Yuma County will review future residential development plans for potential park sites. Retention basins doubling as a green space, great idea, and I like that. And the residents, when the developer comes in, they can make it what's what I'm looking for? Improvement district, right, to pay for the upkeep. That's fair, and it's not that much to, put some water on once in a while and to mow it once in a while. Paragraph 8, enhance park and recreational facilities in the Dayton East County planning area. I'd like the board to consider striking park and, so it would read enhanced recreational facilities. As you can see on the parks plan, these are trails, bike paths. These are things that don't require a lot of ongoing maintenance. I have no problem with developing those. Those are recreational, mountain biking paths, those kind of things. They don't require weekly or bi-weekly maintenance and upkeep. Maybe annual to replace maybe signs or what have you, or repair a washout after a large rain. So I'd really like the board to consider striking all of that I just spoke about. Let's see, then page 257 and 258 for the board.
That was quite a bit, but I mean, personally, I think we can do I think we can do some of the ones that you said that we should strike out, but I would like to see them next side by side. I mean, I don't want to make a decision right now just to strike them, and I think I want to see them side by side, because there's I mean,
Mr. Vice Chair.
Go ahead, Tony.
Look, this is what I've faced for the last 20 years when we talk about parks and recreation. I think that the expectations are that we're moving into a new era where, county services are going to be more inclusive. I think that 20 years ago we had the same discussion. 16 years ago we had the same discussion. The last time we talked about parks and recreation, I said the same thing. If we're not going to put the funding behind this, it'll never happen. Now, I'm sure that Supervisor McLeod makes the same points that he's made throughout the career that he's had at the county. We've had this discussion before. I just feel that the times are changing. And just like bicycle paths and just like a lot of things that we didn't consider in the past, it's time to consider slowly, very slowly, moving into trying to fulfill some of those needs out in the outlying area. I don't see this as a guide or a plan to invest millions and millions of dollars and develop new departments tomorrow or the day after or next year. But I think that it is wise for us to start planning for a time where residents expect more from county services than just simply roads and maintenance. And I understand the concern. I've gone through this. I understand that when we talk about parks and recreation, especially impact fees, I think I'm probably the only developer out of the 5 that can tell you right now that, yes, it is scary to think that the county is going to get into the improvement district type situation. But if you heard the presentation earlier today from our Public Works Department, we already are the county with the most improvement districts in the state of Arizona. So if people are asking us, can you provide this service for us? And if they're willing to pay for them, I think we need to have a plan to address, how we're going to do this. So to me, a plan is a guide. It's not written in stone. And I want to make sure that everybody that hears this presentation understands that we're not saying, okay, we're going to commit millions of dollars and create new departments overnight. But I think over time, we need to address the fact that this county is moving into the 21st century, and that with that move, there should be an acknowledgement that quality of life means more than just going out in the county and looking at the stars, that people need places to go to take their dogs, to take their kids, that, as we talk about matching city and county, I mean, how difficult it is to comprehend that when the city goes out and annexes new areas, some of the considerations that be given is the services that those areas have. So now we're matching sewer systems, we're matching water, we're trying to anyway, match, the services that the city wants before they annex someplace. I know that Supervisor Porches, who hails from the city of Somerton, understand what I'm talking about when it came to the Orange Grove area, where, we're asking, the Orange Grove people were asking to get annexed to the city of Somerton, but they lacked sewer systems, they lacked potable water systems, they lacked so much that the cities just simply, when they thought about annexing, were thinking, well, it's just too costly. Well, just imagine having to annex large areas out there with no public services in terms of recreation. I think that the way that the board, the planning staff and the commission have addressed the issue is to try to move us slowly into less cost-intensive projects and see if we can coordinate with the cities and the towns in making sure that by the time they get there, because eventually someday they'll get there, that those areas will be ready to be annexed without much additional cost. And on top of that, I think that we would be unwise not to have a plan. This is happening. It is not going to change in the future. And we need to be a little more, I hate to use the word progressive about this, but we need to be at least have a vision of what we can do and have a plan. If we have to do it, have a plan on how to go about doing it with the least disruption possible, financial and otherwise. I do appreciate your comments, Supervisor McCollum. I know you put a lot of time and effort into coming up with your suggestions, but I feel compelled to tell you that this is what's coming, and I don't think we can close our eyes and just dip our heads in the sand, and it's going to it's not going to happen because we don't want to. As a developer, I can tell you it is tough seeing it, but I think that by now home prices and all these things that are happening with the real estate market will tell you that people that are moving out in the county are not building $100,000 homes. They're building $250,000 homes, $300,000 homes, and that once they get out of their own little area where they live, they start looking around, and just like everybody else, when you move out in the county, you move because of certain things, but when you're there, you start missing the things that you actually are used to when you're living in a city. That is a conflict that we see continually, and it's something that I think we need to work on trying to make sure that the difference isn't that much, and that if people are willing to pay for those things, there be a way to let them have it. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chairman.
Lynn, go ahead. I'll get you.
Didn't get me.
Susan, I think there needs to be some sort of a disclaimer in this that says that improvement districts would be formed to make these parks, and that those improvement districts would be the funding for those parks.
Can't hear you, Lynn.
Okay.
Is your microphone on?
You can't hear me?
No, now I can, but I couldn't hear a single word you were saying. Is your microphone on?
Okay, here we go. I think there needs to be something in there that says that we have to form.
Oh, you're cutting off and on.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Improvement districts? Oh. I'm not on? Good. Okay. Oh.
That is a bad microphone you have in there.
That wasn't quick 5 hours. Okay. Thank you. Now can you hear me? Okay. Okay, juice up microphone. Come on.
Great.
Okay, now I think that we need to form improvement districts to build those parks, and that people need to be willing to do those improvement districts if they want a park in their area. I don't think that the developers and most people that move to the county are living in the county because it doesn't cost them as much. And if they want to have the same amenities as that you have living in the city, then they need to be willing to do an improvement district to get those amenities. So.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I appreciate the comments you made, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to point out that I was very, very consistent as I went through to just strike where it said parks and impact fees. Because parks have a mental connotation of large green spaces with trees and ramadas and upkeep. That's where the expense comes in long term. You can get a grant and put money together to build a park. It's the ongoing maintenance that is the cost driver. I was careful that in all of those comments, I left the term recreational facilities so that people can go recreate, so they can take their children out. They can go on a walking path or a biking path They can take their dogs on those areas. I'm only looking out for the public's expectation that we're going to run all over the county and build these green parks. And that's what I'm asking the board to consider striking, because I don't think we should be doing that. It's a huge expense, and as I said, that creates double taxation on municipal residents.
Go ahead.
I would like to clarify something, because I think this has come up before. So page 5 of the plan starts the conversation about the Yuma County 2020 Comprehensive Plan. It went into effect March 26, 2012, and these items that were created by these community action groups, the ones that you're referring to, Supervisor McLeod, already exist. They existed as part of the comprehensive plan. This Parks Master Plan only is reiterating what's in the comprehensive plan that was adopted in 2012. It's not making any new promises, but as you can tell from reading these, since 2012 to now, we haven't done any of these things. So that's why in our longer term recommendations, we have community outreach as part of the 2030 comprehensive plan development, because I, as the administrator, want to make sure that we're not empowering community action groups to list a whole bunch of dreams and wishes that aren't going to come to fruition. And I think that's what happened in this case with the comprehensive plan. We need to make sure that we're not setting out expectations and letting people identify a bunch of wishes that we aren't going to do. So in our next comprehensive plan, through the Planning and Zoning Commission, administration is going to be more involved in actually talking with individuals about parks, explaining what our parks are, because it has to be part of the comprehensive plan to explain what our current, or this adopted, once you adopt this plan, what it says, and keeping those expectations realistic, so that we don't get this list of items that people would like to see, because we haven't delivered on them, but we've allowed people to identify them and we've put them into our 2020 comprehensive plan. So this is really just a restatement of what's already in there. It's not new recommendations, and we're not doing anything with it. It's simply a recap of the source documents that Tiffany looked at, including the comprehensive plan, including the development plan, to where we got to the recommendations. The short-term recommendations and the long-term recommendations are really the meat of what this parks plan is about. And I think they're very realistic. And I think we can manage expectations with those short-term recommendations and long-term recommendations that are in the plan as amended by the Parks and Rec Commission. So these have existed since 2012, and we haven't done anything with them. So we could change them, but it won't change the source document. And it doesn't really affect what we're doing with this Parks Master Plan. I don't know if that helps to reassure you that we're not making these promises, but they've already been in existence, and we haven't delivered on them anyway.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Administrator Thorpe. And as I said, I didn't catch that when we went through the comprehensive plan, or I would have brought it up at that time.
Exactly.
To change the word parks to recreational facilities. And I started out my comments by saying I like the short-term and long-term recommendations as they are, because they basically talk about exactly what I'm talking about, recreational facilities. I'm just, firm in my belief that we should strike all of those words and a couple paragraphs that I spoke to in the recreational resources policies and priorities, because we're telling the public this is a policy and a priority for us. And everywhere that you see the word parks is going to bring that mental image of a large green space that requires a lot of maintenance. That's why I'm asking the board to consider today removing those. It doesn't really change the document, and it doesn't remove anything about recreational facilities. And if a board in the future decided they wanted to go down that road, which I would not approve of, but I don't have a vote, right?
Well, wait.
A recreational facility can be a park, right? So I don't see the harm in striking those things so that we don't tell the public or create an expectation to the public that we're going to be doing these things. So that's where I'm coming from. And like I said, they did a great job on these. That's great.
I agree with a lot of what Supervisor McLeod's saying as far as changing some wording, but we've also, like Chairman Reyes said, this has been 20 years, and every year it seems to get pushed back with no action. I think we need to go ahead and adopt the plan as it's written. We can go back and tweak it to change it to recreational areas or take the parks out, but we've got budgets coming up shortly, and I don't believe in starting a department for this. I think it needs to be a line item underneath Public Works or Facilities or whoever we put it under. But we need to get this going now to prepare for that, and then we can tweak it like Supervisor McLeod was saying. I don't disagree with what he's saying as far as the wording, but we've got 7 parks in the county right now that need attention. Gadsden's had quite a bit of work done to it, which it needed badly. And there's several other parks that need assistance to get them up to a safe and usable condition, as well as addressing a park in the foothills. I know we don't want to get started, but this is something that's been wanted for 20 or 30 years out there. And I understand it's county, but it is the largest segment of population in the county. It's a city in itself, where a lot of the other districts in the county have city within.
They're already in the city.
And they have parks which are close, they have close access to. And the foothills doesn't have that. And I understand, you know, the county's not really in that business of providing parks, but I think it's time to start moving that way. And I think the first step is getting this approved. Like I said, we can bring it back, make the changes that Supervisor McLeod was saying, strike the parks and go with recreational facilities or however we word it, to where there's not that expectation where every time you turn around, the county's going to put a park in. Because that just, it won't happen. Like Supervisor McLeod said, that's the city's 3rd largest budget item. And it's just, it's a monster and a half. And we don't want to get into that. But we do have to start looking at providing some sort of facilities or whatever for the county citizens. They've asked for it for years, and we need to look at getting that on the move and getting it done.
Mr. Vice Chair? Go ahead. I appreciate that, Supervisor Simmons, and if I recall, the short-term recommendations include those parks. That's why I'm all for it. So I think, you know, none of the changes that I recommended changed the document, really. We're just getting rid of that mental picture for the public. I fully support, as you know, in the foothills. I think we need to be going that way. So with that, I'll take a stab at it, Mr. Vice Chairman. Move that we adopt the plan as presented, with the exception of the items that I asked to be removed.
I heard 20.
There were so many, I don't remember which ones anymore.
Gotta see it.
And
You gotta see it.
I gotta see it side by side.
Mr. Chairman?
You know, Mr. Vice Chair, may I?
Go ahead, Tim.
I remember the first time I was asked to basically accept adopt, what do you call it, a substitute motion or something like that from Supervisor McClellan at the time, and I said, what the hell is that? And I have now, I mean, unless somebody is going to make a second to that, you know, I will substitute that motion with another one, but I would wait. Is there anybody that's going to second that motion?
I thought you did.
No, I actually want to substitute your motion for another one, but didn't want to do that as a parting gift to you. So I'm going to wait until to see if somebody wants to strike all those paragraphs. I think that is a lot of changes for a plan that is pretty much basically in front of us just to adopt as a resolution.
Let me ask for a
So
second.
I'm just going to.
And then we can, if we don't get a second, then we'll do another, or
Yeah, good.
So,
It's okay, I'll wait.
is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
Motion fails.
Mr. Vice Chairman, if you think I'm surprised by lack of a second, I am not. But I had to take a stab at it. I feel strongly about it.
I did not want that to be your parting matter, but.
Okay, that motion fails. Is there a?
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Mr. Vice Chair, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion we adopt resolution number 2020-54 for the Parks Master Plan, with the caveat that essentially we're going to come back sometime in the near future and talk about expectations and maybe changing some of the terminology to basically create a lower expectations in regards to actually creation of parks. I think those points were good points. I'm not sure that I feel that they're that critical to the master plan itself right now, as it is only a plan. So my motion is to adopt resolution number 2020-54 and to include in the motion that the suggestions that Supervisor McLeod has made.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Vice Chairman, I want to make sure that Desiree kept up with all that.
Mr. Chairman, are we amending it with Supervisor McLeod's changes?
No.
We're going to look
No.
at them in the future.
Bring it back.
With the caveat that you'll bring it back and look at it in the future.
Mr. Vice
At a
Chair,
future date.
if I could clarify then, the motion is to approve the plan as presented, and then you just have this understanding that's on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that help?
Yes.
Bring it back in January, perhaps?
So there's a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2020-54 with the condition to bring it back later on. All those in favor say aye.
You don't have a second yet, do you?
Aye.
Who was the second?
I did.
Oh, you did, okay. Sorry.
Any opposed?
Nay.
1 nay. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank Tiffany Anderson.
And yeah, thanks to Tiffany for all her work that she did.
It's great to be on the wrong side of a 4-1 vote on the last meeting. It feels so good.
Well, you should have stayed on.
Moving on to item number
The plan
3.
itself is good. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, you still have an opportunity to make up for it.
Human Resources presentation and the survey results of the exceptional incentive policy.
Good morning, Vice Chair.
Good morning.
And members of the board. Alicia Frausto, can you hear me better this time?
Yes.
Okay. Just adjusted my mask.
You can take it off if you want to. It's up to you.
So as you may recall, back in May 2020, I had presented information to all the board members with regards to the exceptional incentive policy. And at that time, that was to determine as to how we would proceed with the process. We did have over 55 different nominations, so that this way that was presented to you for your approval. Through that whole process, it was quite interesting with regards to how the participation was received. It was asked from one of our current board members that I would present this information at a later time. This is at later time 6 months later, to be able to give you somewhat of an idea of how the directors and or elected officials who had to make the recommendations to the board, but as well as how it was received for the employees in their nomination or their process itself. At this time, I'm not asking for any type of action to be taken, except just to share with you what the results were of the survey. All in county departments and elected offices were able to participate through the survey. As you can see through what was presented to you, we had 13 employee responses when there was about 700 responses that were sent out, and 14 director and elected official responses, as we have over about 20 departments that are including the elected offices that are actively participating. So with that, I wanted to be able to just share the information with you. I will come back at a later time, whether by the direction of the county administrator with regards to how we will move forward with this process through the budget process, or present at another board meeting as to what you would like for us to do with the progress of this program. So with that, any questions that I might be able to respond to?
Any questions?
I have a lot of comments, but, you know, I'll leave it to the future board. But some of the responses just made me shake my head, you know, especially employees. Well, we didn't know about it. Well, of course not. I don't want you pretending to be a good employee. I want to reward that exceptional employee. I admit to being, you know, the push behind this, and I don't think it was well received, was it, Felicia?
No, sir.
Yeah. You know, I have a saying at my company, it's not all of my ideas are really good ones, but I think the board understands the reasoning behind it, and I appreciate that, you know, the board went along and gave it a try. I'm very disappointed that it was poorly received because it had merit.
Mr. Vice Chair?
The policy behind it is good.
Go ahead, Tony.
I do want to make a comment. I read some of the comments that came back, and I think this falls under the category of the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I don't think the message of an exception in policy, I think it's diluted if you make it more than 10%, and you know, if you widen it out like that. It was supposed to be exceptional, and exceptional to me means beyond normal and beyond expectations, and so I'm disappointed at the way that this was received, and I'm disappointed at the fact that it was sort of received as one more incentive policy as opposed to a kind of an exceptional policy, kind of a situation where if you had an exceptional employee or a couple of exceptional employees, you'd be able to acknowledge their being exceptional in some way. You know, this looks to me like most people would like it to be sort of like a bonus program, and I don't think we as a county can really get into a bonus program. I think we have that process when we do the Employee of the Year, and we widen that up a little bit to have a safety employee. You know, those are the kind of things that I think that we already do. And I just want to, before we leave this item, tell you that I think that the majority of the employees of the county are exceptional, but that in essence, this was supposed to recognize those who basically stood out among those employees. And it really, I don't think it connected. I'm not even sure it's worth the effort to come back and discuss it too much. I think that we probably need to call it something else and see if we can get it under the statutes and see if we can find a way to motivate or not motivate, but reward those exceptional employees in some other way that isn't becoming a situation where you have disgruntled employees as opposed to happy people who have been recognized. Now you have a situation where, you know, the other people are going to say that this is a favoritism program or things like that, which is disappointing to me, but it just goes to show just how much good thought can be put behind an idea that isn't, you know, turning out the way we saw it. I agree with Supervisor McLeod. It's disappointing to see us trying to figure out a way to reward those exceptional employees and come back with, you know, it's not enough. It's really, really, really disappointing to me. Thank you.
I appreciate those comments, Mr. Chairman. And if I may?
Go ahead.
John, I think it's correct. We can't bonus employees, right? Somehow it's against statute somewhere, is what I recall.
Right, it fell under the catch-all of the net of the gift clause. The incentive program that you're before you today was we were able to find a way to sort of meet it halfway with what you folks wanted to do and still be in compliance with statute in the Arizona Constitution.
Right. The only way we could do that was through a bump in salary and not a one-time lump payment, because there were at least two comments will make it a lump payment, which we cannot do. You know, I wouldn't be against that, but we can't. So that's why we went this way. But again, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your comments. I too am disappointed. You know, I thought it was a great program.
Any other questions for Felicia? Thank you, Felicia.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Felicia, I just know you want to say I told you so.
No.
Just say it.
Next meeting.
Yeah, let's move everything to the next meeting.
I hate these masks. People can't see when you're smiling.
Moving on to county, item number 4, county administration. adopt budget amendment resolution number 21-29. Ian.
Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board, Chairman Reyes, Ian McGahey, Deputy County Administrator. At the last meeting of the Board of Supervisors on December 7th, the board authorized an appropriation of $150,000 to support remote learning in Yuma County. The attached budget amendment in your packet transfers funds from Reserve for Emergencies to aid to other entities. After additional discussion with internet service providers, it became evident that the original amount of $150,000 would not be enough to fulfill the mission of the grant program, which is to bring reliable internet services to students in Yuma County for remote learning purposes. Paul Melcher, the former Director of Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs, whose last day with Yuma County was Friday, did a tremendous amount of work on this project and has prepared 2 updated budgets for the board's consideration. Option 1, which is the recommended option, increases the program budget to $250,000 for 4 reasons. 1, to account for a formula error for CenturyLink monthly service and modem fees, which increased the cost of hookups from $294 to $425. That $425 cost includes installation and modem costs in one package with a reduced monthly service rate of $25. Number 2, to capture all Welton Mohawk hookup numbers which were previously underreported. 3, the project budget now accounts for the possibility that hookup and new service drop assistance might be needed and paid for on an as-needed basis. And 4, as a contingency in the event that there are any student addresses missing from the original list and any unrelated unexpected expenses. Option 2 for the budget represents a budget where all CenturyLink hookups are changed to hotspots in order to reduce the total project cost. Staff is recommending option 1 since it achieves the goal of providing the maximum amount of fixed line internet services, which are generally more reliable than hotspot services. The recommended motion is in your packet, which also provides for the disbursement of this grant funding to local school districts using a grant agreement form. And that's what I have.
Mr. Vice Chair?
Go ahead.
Ian, the $25 monthly fee, is that to be borne by the grant or by the homeowner?
By the grant.
That's what
Yes,
I had
sir.
expected. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Chair?
Yeah, I'm here.
Any comments?
I just don't have
Budget?
much to say. I mean, it's like everything that we begin, Vice Chairman. We begin with a smaller budget and end up with a bigger budget. I'm reminding of the program that we had for thesis testing with this. But, I think we're on our way to doing something good and necessary. And I think that this is one of those situations where we step out of our way to try to find a way to help a process that is unexpected, but I think will eventually results in being better prepared in the future to deal with situations like this. Hopefully, it will be a situation where we learn, and as we move on to trying to get broadband out in the county, it'll help us just determine how costly those things are when you get into them. But I do agree that if we're going to do it right, we might as well do it right. So I do support option 1, which is the one that's been recommended.
I thought you had nothing to say. Mr. Vice Chairman?
Go ahead.
I want to have a little bit of discussion, but to start off with, I'll move that we adopt option 1 as presented.
I'll second that motion.
There's a motion and a second to adopt resolution number 21-29, option 1. Is there a discussion?
Yes, Mr. Vice Chair. I just want to point out for the public, under normal circumstances, I don't think this is something that the county general fund should be budgeting. I would like to remind everyone, we received a large amount of money in CARES Act funding. We unfortunately have not been able to expend. And I see this as directly related to the COVID, with our students having to try to learn from home as best they can and providing this much needed service to the public. So to me, that is a legitimate and reasonable distribution of those dollars that we have sitting there. So that's why I support this.
Thank you. Thank you. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ian.
Mr. Vice Chairman?
Yes.
I think that was a two-part suggested motion in that item. I think you just voted on the Part A. There's also one dealing with authorized staff to disperse.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right, John.
Okay.
Would you like me to amend the motion or
No, you
make
have the
another
first
motion?
part done, I think you might want to do the second part.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I move that we authorize staff to disperse Yuma County remote learning assistance funding pursuant to the proposed project budget using the attached grant agreement forms.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second to authorize staff to disperse Yuma County remote learning assistance funding. Any discussions?
Thank you, John.
None? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries. Thanks. Moving on to the planning and zoning agenda, item number 1.
Chairman, can you open also item number 3?
Oh, yeah, let me also open up item number 3. These two items are together. Go ahead, Javier.
1 and 3?
1 and 3. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, presenting minor amendment case number 20-05. This is a request to change the land use designation of a parcel 3.678 acres in size from local commercial to general commercial, located in the Foothills planning area at 11737 South Foothills Boulevard in Yuma, Arizona. The intent is to allow the rezoning of the subject parcel to general commercial. This is the land use map showing the subject property cross-hatched. It's located on the southeast corner of 38th Street and Foothills Boulevard. The land use is local commercial. Same land uses on the north, west, and south, while we have on the northwest and east and southeast urban density residential. This is an aerial view showing the subject parcel in existing condition. This picture is from 2017, showing the RV park and the RV resort center. This is a view looking east of the subject parcel. Staff did not receive any comments in opposition or in favor of this request. However, residents that received the notification just called thinking that the Yuma County was trying to rezone their property. So I clarified that we didn't. The Planning Commission recommends approval of minor amendment case number 20-05 based on the following. The proposed change is compatible with adjoining land use designations. The amendment will not have an adverse effect on the health or safety of present or future residents. The amendment will allow for commercial development and will not negatively impact the existing residential and commercial character of the area. The amendment is consistent with the overall intent of the plan. Vice Chairman, this concludes the portion for the minor amendment. I will continue with the rezoning portion of it, rezoning case number 217. Again, to rezone the mentioned 3.67 acres in size from manufactured home subdivision 20,000 square feet minimum to general commercial. The intent is to develop a grocery store 30,000 square feet to 35,000 square feet in size. This is the zoning map and vicinity map. The subject parcel is hatching highlighted at the center. On the northeast, we have the several parcels zone R112, low density residential, 12,000 square feet minimum, improved with side built homes. Parcel on the north, parcel 91 is zone general commercial. This is the location of Foothills Bank. On the northwest, we have 5 parcel zone recreational vehicle subdivision, improved with side built homes and manufactured homes. On the west and southwest, we have parcels of zone general commercial, improved with different buildings, some unoccupied. Location of that area is also the Foothills hardware store. We have parcel 75 on the south zone, local commercial. That property is vacant as we speak. And then we have on the south and east, property zone recreational vehicle subdivision, improved with a mixture of manufactured homes and RV. This is the site plan submitted by the applicant. where the proposed grocery store is going to be located, parking, loading. Again, the aerial. This of you looking east of the subject parcel from across the Foothill Boulevard. Looking east of the subject parcel, looking a little towards the south. Looking south of the subject parcel from the north, 38th Street. Looking at the entrance, again, from the south, from the north. Looking southeast from within the subject parcel. Closer look from within the subject parcel on the south portion. Again, staff received no comments in favor and opposition of this request. The Planning Commission recommends approval of rezoning case 20-17, subject to the following performance conditions. Within 60 days of approval by the board, the owner agent shall provide an ARS 12-1134 waiver, record a range disclosure statement, as well as record a navigation disclosure statement. And also the following is scheduled for development. Within 1 year of board's approval, the owner agent shall, in accordance with the Yuma County Public Works Standards 1, Section 7.3 Guidelines for Traffic Studies, a traffic study shall be completed. All improvements required by the traffic study must be constructed. So with this concludes this presentation. The applicant is present. He agrees with the conditions of approval.
Thank you, Javier. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, you may recall, I would like the board to know that probably 10 years ago, and I don't know if this is in our planning documents, you might know, but the board decided at that time that commercial development along Foothills Boulevard was desirable for the long term in the Foothills area. So you may wonder why a grocery store there where there's homes nearby, but that's why. That whole corridor eventually should become commercial, and that was I don't know if you want to call it a resolution, Mr. Chairman, you might remember, but I'm sure you recall when that was part of the discussion when we started turning these properties, they were all residential properties at one time along Foothills Boulevard. Over time, they've been purchased and turned into commercial, and that was purposeful by the board.
Mr. Chairman, the zoning of the property does not allow for any proposed use of grocery store. That's why the required amendment was triggered. Since the local commercial allows for grocery stores, but up to 6,000 square feet minimum. There was the option to do that, but it will require also the approval of a special use permit to allow something bigger in the C1, because they could go to C1 without amending.
Right.
But they decided to go with the amendment and actually get the right zoning so they can go as big as that.
Yeah, that's great. That's the right way to do it. And I just wanted the board members who weren't here long ago understand that this is by design to turn that corridor into a commercial corridor over time.
Any other questions or comments? Nope.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr.
This
Chair.
is the chairman. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to get something like this done. I'm sure that with all that development out in the foothills, this is one of those businesses that is highly needed. I mean, I know that as areas like that develop, sometimes we just get overwhelmed with all these small parcels, all these small lots, and then the services are really very far away. So I'm looking forward to, supporting this project. Are you open up to the public yet?
I'm going to.
All right.
All right. At this time, I'll open up the public hearing, and
Good morning, Barry Olson, 101 East 2nd Street. I'm here on behalf of the applicant this morning, and if there's any questions, I'd be more than glad to address those on behalf of the applicant.
No? Any questions for the applicant?
No questions.
Good plan.
Appreciate your support.
Thank you, Barry. Anybody else from the public? Not seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and entertain a motion for.
Mr. Vice Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve minor amendment case 20-05 along with rezoning case number 20-17. Recommend approval.
Mr. Chair, hold on. Did you open up public hearing for both, or did you just open up the public hearing for the minor amendment?
For both.
Okay, good. Right.
There's a motion.
I'll second the motion.
It's already been.
There's a motion and a second.
Okay, fine.
To approve minor amendment case number 20-05 and rezoning case number 20-17. Any discussion?
make a quick comment if I could?
Go ahead.
Mr. Vice Chair. Looking at what they want to do, this is something that's been wanted out in the foothills for quite some time. Over on Foothills Boulevard, a small family grocery store for the public to use. So I'm glad to see it's happening because the property that's there is really starting to fall into a state of disrepair and overgrowth. So it'd be nice to see something new go in there and
That'll look nice.
look nice.
Yes. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Barraza. Moving on to item number 2, Development Services Planning and Zoning Division, rezoning case number 20-18.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board. Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, present the rezoning case number 20-18. This is a request to rezone a parcel of 5.0 gross acres in size from rural area 5-acre minimum to suburban ranch 2-acre minimum, located in the Yuma Mesa County area at 1582 West County 17 and a half Street. The intent is to create 2 parcels for residential development. This is the zoning and vicinity map showing the subject parcel, parcel 8. It's accessed via County 17 and a half on the south and 6th Avenue extension, which is a dirt road, not maintained by Yuma County. Parcels 2 and 3 are zone rural. Parcel 3 on the east is within the city of Yuma, zone ag in agriculture. Parcel number 3 on the north is zone rural area 10-acre minimum in agriculture. Parcels 4, 7, and 10 are zone suburban ranch 2-acre minimum. They are approved with side-built homes. And parcel number 9 on the south is zone RA5, improved with a side-built and in agriculture. This is the site plan submitted by the applicant. For the split and existing house. View shows highlighted in yellow the subject parcel and existing character of the area. This is a view looking north from the subject parcel to the property north. Looking south from subject parcel towards County 17 and a half. Looking west from the subject parcel. And this is looking east of the subject parcel. I received no comments from surrounding property owners. Planning Commission recommends approval of rezoning case 20-18, subject to the following performance condition. Within 60 days of order's approval by the board, the owner agent shall provide an RS 12-1134 waiver, record an infrastructure disclosure statement, and schedule for development disclosure statement, and record an agricultural disclosure statement. And this came late, so it was added as an item 2, a request for navigation disclosure statement to be recorded within 60 days of board's approval. Also, the following schedule for development. Within 1 year of board's approval to approval of the land division permit, the owner shall apply for a grading permit with Yuma County Department of Development Services to improve the ingress-egress easement depicted on the site plan submitted by the applicant with a gravel road standard C. The eastern end of the ingress-egress easement shall also contain the means of emergency vehicles to turn around. The turnaround shall be in accordance with 2003 International Park Code and current Yuma County policies. 2, within 1 year's approval by the board, the property shall be split in accordance with the site plan submitted by the applicant by means of a land division permit pursuant to section 507 of the Yuma County zoning ordinance. And an ingress-egress easement 20 feet in width along the north property line shall be recorded. Number 3, within 1 year's of board's approval by the board, the owner shall submit certification from a licensed engineer confirming that the roadway referred to in item 1 of the schedule for development was constructed according to standard C grade roadway. And the last one, all lots shall be provided with means of irrigation and access to irrigation water prior to development of any of the existing parcels. And the letter shall be submitted to DDS from the irrigation district.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, this concludes this presentation. I do not know if the applicant is present. I'm sorry. We'll find out.
Any questions or comments to staff? Thank you, Javier. I'll go ahead and open it up to the public, a public hearing. Anybody from the public that wishes to address or comment on this item? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Is Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move that rezoning case number 20-18 be approved.
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second to approve rezoning case number 20-18. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4. Special use permit case number 20-04.
Vice Chairman Javier Barraza, Senior Planner, presenting special use permit case 20-04. This is a request for a special use permit per section 604.03M of the Yuma County zoning ordinance to allow an accessory dwelling unit on a parcel 1.89 gross acres inside zone low density residential, 40,000 square feet minimum, located in the Yuma Mesa planning area at 3538 East Corso Caballo Lane in Yuma, Arizona. The intent is to build home 1,140 square feet in size as an accessory dwelling unit for a family member. This is the vicinity map showing the subject parcel, red. Property is accessed via County 16th Street on the south and Avenue 3.5. Parcel on the north, parcel 37 zone PD in agriculture. Parcels on the west are within the Tuscan Ranch subdivision. Some are improved with site-built homes and others are vacant. Parcels on the south and east are property zone R140, all unimproved. The site plan submitted by the applicant. In yellow is the existing residence. It's under construction. And in red is the accessory dwelling unit. I'd like to mention that there used to be 2 parcels, and they combined those 2 parcels, probably to get the benefit of get all the utilities from the main residence, and also to have it closer to the main residence. It'll be shown the subject parcel outlined in red. This is a view looking north from the street. The existing dwelling and property. Looking east from Avenue 3.5 East. Looking west from Corso Caballo Lane towards County 16th Street. No comments received from property owners within the zoning area. We received comments from MCS in opposition of this request. I would like to mention to the board that the zoning was in place before the adoption of the comprehensive plan. Planning Commission recommends approval of a special use case number 20-04, subject to the following operational conditions. The approval of the special use permit is based on the site plan submitted by the applicant. Any change from the site plan requires prior approval by the planning director. The accessory dwelling unit may not be used for rental occupancy. Also, the following performance condition: within 60 days of board's approval, the owner or agent shall do the following: provide an ARS 12-1134 waiver and record a range disclosure statement. Mr. Chairman, that's the presentation, and the applicants are present.
Thank you. Questions?
Mr. Vice Chair, I have a question. It's not in the 65 to 70 decimal range, is it?
Mr. Vice Chairman, no, it's not.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions for staff? Comments? Thank you, Javier. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. If anybody from the public that state your name and address, please. Thanks.
Name and address?
Yes.
Ed Foster, 13199 South 27th Avenue. I'm representing Hacienda Homes, my employer, and my customers, the Boggs. And the reason for this, number one, they tied 2 lots together, so they have 82,000 square feet of property and some change a little bit. And it's so that they can have the casita building for her mother that needs or will need more help in the future. In order to, that way they're there to help out and do all these things other than trying to go somewhere else to keep her close by. And that's basically it.
Sounds good to me. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, county board members, staff, and everybody's present. So my name is Antonio Martinez. I'm here representing Colonel Dudek from Marine Corps Air Station Yuma. And we are requesting denial of this special use permit. And the reason for that is this actual parcel is within 1 mile of the BMGR boundary. So we're using the buffer zone has, means to protect, the safety of the people and the actual military operations as well. So the basis for this is that we use in the Yuma County Comprehension Plan, which states that the applied use of land within 1 mile of the BMGR along his western boundary, beginning at County 14th, running south at County 17th Street, will have a residential density no greater than 2 acres per lot. At this location, the maximum allowable density is 1 home per 2 acres. So we understand 2 lots were combined, but that's still 2 acres and 1 residential unit. So adding an accessory dwelling unit will actually violate that. And that's all I have.
Go ahead.
You do realize that before they combined those lots, they could have put a residence on each one, right?
I understand, sir.
Okay, so I don't understand the objection. They've combined the 2 lots. They could have put 2 homes, right? Right next to each other without combining the lot, and there would have been 2 homes there.
Correct.
And you could have had 2 homes with, 5 bedrooms, right?
Right.
And 20 people living there.
And we understand that. We just got to base our response on what we have now in front of us. So we understand what they had in the past, but right now it's 1 lot that is 2 acres with 1 residential trying to add a higher density. So
But it's not a higher density. It's the same density they could have had before they combined the lots. I have a hard time.
Right.
You see where I'm coming from?
Yes, sir.
I don't want to beat you up. I think the point is made. Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Seeing none, bring it back to the board to entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move special use permit case number 20-04.
As presented?
As presented.
I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second to approve special use permit case number 20-04. Any discussion, further discussion? None? And all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to discussion regarding legislative issues. Item number 1.
Thank you for waiting all this time.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board, Chairman Reyes, my name's Ian McGahey, Deputy County Administrator. As I mentioned before, I'll be bridging the gap between former Director of Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs, Paul Melcher, until his replacement is secured. I want to thank Paul for his assistance with this update.
It's on an auto.
Congressional leaders reached a deal last night on a $900 billion COVID-19 economic relief package that includes $600 direct payments to many Americans and $300 in enhanced unemployment for the next 10 weeks. The deal also includes $82 billion for education funding, benefits for small businesses, and $25 billion in direct rental assistance while extending the eviction moratorium. In addition to economic relief, the deal also earmarks more than $30 billion to support the procurement and distribution of the coronavirus vaccine and $27 billion for testing in state health care programs. As you know, the Arizona State Legislature convenes on Monday, January 11th Following the 2020 election, Republicans won a 31-29 majority in the House and a 16-14 majority in the Senate. The party, of course, also controls the governorship, maintaining a Republican state government trifecta. Interestingly, both of Arizona U.S. senators are now Democrats. The majority of Arizona representatives in the U.S. House are Democrats, and of course the state's electors went to Democrat President-elect Joe Biden in the presidential election. One item we'll be monitoring is redistricting, which of course is the process by which states draw new congressional and state legislative districts in the wake of the U.S. Census. Officials will send data from the 2020 census early next year to begin the redistricting process. Arizona is one of 4 states where an independent commission is responsible for redistricting. The Arizona Association of Counties adopted its 2021 county government platform on December 8th. Leaders across Arizona's 15 counties identified policy priorities for their offices and communities and worked with ACO to discuss those issues statewide with other county officials and other stakeholders. I have copies of the platform here, and it's also available on the ACO website, azcounties.org. Another item I wanted to mention is the Capital Review Committee met last week to review a capital project budget request for the Yuma and Lewis State Prison complexes to continue a $46 million project to replace locks, fire alarms and suppression systems, and HVAC systems at both complexes. However, as the County Supervisors Association Weekly Update reported, some of the committee members wanted to discuss COVID-19 within the prison system and the department's handling of COVID protocols to keep prisoners and staff safe after the recent death of Edwin Jensen, the warden at the Arizona State Prison Complex in Yuma. The Yuma prison is in the midst of the largest COVID-19 outbreak within the state's prison system. I also wanted to give an update on our efforts to amend the Clean Air Act to establish equity for the Yuma area. As you know, a portion of Yuma County has been designated by the EPA as marginal non-attainment for the 2015 ozone National Ambient Air Quality Standards. However, the region would be able to demonstrate compliance if not for the emissions generated by international and interstate transport from Mexico and California. ADEQ has been supportive in this issue and is just a few days away of submitting an amended state implementation plan to EPA. Once submitted, the clock starts in a 6-month administrative review, followed by a period of 12 months to potentially approve it. We'll, of course, keep you updated on any developments there. And finally, staying with ADEQ, just a quick update on PM10. ADEQ facilitated a number of stakeholder meetings during the past couple weeks, gathering input on its efforts to obtain a reasonable control exemption to the EPA exceptional events rule. Essentially, the region needs to demonstrate that we're doing what we can to control particulate matter in the absence of major events outside of our control. In the coming weeks, ADEQ will be conferring with individual stakeholders and EPA reps to refine their approach with an eye on creating revised visions of draft rules for further feedback by late January or early February, to be followed by final revisions submitted to EPA. That's my report, Mr. Vice Chairman. I'll be happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Ian?
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calendar events and current events?
Mr. Vice Chair?
Yes.
I assume you left call to the public open, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. I'd like to comment on my lovely wife, Joy, who attended the meeting today, seeing as how it's my last meeting. Thank you for being here. Thank you for, the vast majority of my time on the board. She's been my confidant and given me feedback, and numerous times gave me great advice over the years that kept my foot out of my mouth. So I appreciate all that you've done for me, Joy. It's been a great time together, and so I just wanted to acknowledge that there's somebody behind the scenes helping me be successful. So thank you.
And your family as well after.
Thank you.
Great job.
Family, yeah. Yeah,
They've all made sacrifices.
every first and third Monday, they manage without me.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask them, they'd probably tell you they manage better, but that's another story. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you. Good job.
They probably won't admit it, but it was an improvement.
I I'll admit that.
That hasn't stopped.
Supervisor Pancrase?
Yes. I attended a PM10 stakeholders meeting. I attended the conference call with Senator Sinema, and she was behind that stimulus package. She really worked hard with the group, bipartisan group that helped get that through. I met with Rachel Starsworth and a group of homeowners on a lighting district project that we're looking at. I attended my YMPO board meeting, the Heritage Area Executive Board meeting. I attended the Arizona Department of Environmental Qualities, Yuma Road Dust Control, and the Ag Dust Control meetings. I attended Fair Relocation meeting, and the director of Yuma Chamber and I, Kim, met with Representative Dunn on possible legislation concerning lowest bids, and so we'll see where that goes. CSA, I attended the CSA Executive Board meeting, the CSA Board of Directors meetings, and I was at Director Gomez's announcement of the vaccine. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, or Vice Chair. I attended the CSA board meeting in person. They invited me up as a past president to be recognized. Really appreciate that they did that. It was really nice, and it was touching, and quite a few, actually 1/3 of county supervisors are being replaced this year.
I know.
A number much larger than any I've been on the board in the last 16 years. So there were some goodbyes and people that I got close to over the years that because of the separation in distance, I probably won't see them again. But really good friends, and so it was bittersweet. But I greatly appreciate that they invited me up. Had a meeting, web meeting, of course, with Dr. Christ, Paul Brierly, and Diane Gomez regarding countywide COVID testing, using the wastewater testing that the board generously allowed them to put together that lab. It's being put to good use. There is a plan being developed where we can do municipal testing and break it down by zones, and then if necessary, even smaller, if you have an outbreak in a certain area. The hospital is also excited about that because it gives about anywhere from a 3 to 1 week lead time before symptoms show up. This testing will show that whether there's all of a sudden something going on, or conversely, we hope that it shows that there's continued decrease. It works both ways, of course. So it's great that the board decided to make that investment. It's going to be put to good use. We're looking. Dr. Chris is involved because she'll make the decision on funding it. She or her team will. Attended to Representative Dunn's COVID web meetings. He does a great job with that, getting reports back from all manner of persons across the state on how things are being managed and what they're doing. Attended a CIVEX web conference regarding ASU's Luminosity Lab. And most of you probably aren't familiar with that, but it's these engineering and other students get together and create magnificent projects. I mean, it's just an amazing thing I didn't know existed. So it was great to learn about that. Had discussion with Senator Sinema's office regarding the PPP loan forgiveness. The problem with that is they're talking about just forgiving anything under, I think, like $300,000 without having to prove that you did anything. The problem with that is there was massive fraud. And if you just forgive it and they have another round, you're not going to catch the fraudsters, and it simply will encourage them to do it even more. And that's money. Every dollar that is fraudulently taken out of that system is a dollar that doesn't get to a small business that deserves it. So we'll see where that comes. They were open to the idea, but that's staff. So we'll see what the senator does. But I hope they make companies prove it. And I got to tell you, we got some of that loan, and the paperwork to get the loan was a little bit daunting. The paperwork for forgiveness, a fourth grader could do it. I mean, it's really, really easy and simple. So there is no reason, in my mind, that paperwork should not have to be put forward in process. People need to prove they're a legitimate business and that they kept the employees rather than taking the money and then still laying off employees. Also attended the Achieve 60 web meeting, and for those of you who don't know, Achieve 60 is a program designed to get us to 60% of our population in Arizona with either a certificate or a degree of some sort. Right now, I think we're around 40, something like that. So, and they have presented feedback during that meeting, showing that over the several years they've been working on this, there's already an uptick. So it's good news. And so we hope to be part of that and hopefully expand higher education here in Yuma County in the very near future. So thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Simmons?
Had a couple of teleconferences, attended a Welton Library. They did a Christmas program, which I thought they did a very good job as far as keeping the distance. They had it set up out in the parking lot, and I think they had about 60 kids come through, and they gave them, little things and stuff. So that was really neat. Welton VFW did something along the same lines that I attended.
Was Santa there?
Huh?
Was Santa at the library?
Yes, they were. And like I said, they practiced distancing. Everybody had their face masks on. Everybody did a good job with it, and the kids had a lot of fun. So they got to have a little bit of a Christmas time and with Santa, and so. And then I just want to say to Russell, good luck. Thank you for your mentorship for the last 4 years. I've known you longer than that, being with the sheriff's office, paths across with board and stuff. And I just, like I said, can't thank you enough, and I wish you nothing but all the best. And have fun with him, Joy. He's yours now.
Don't remind me.
Oh, wow. That's like a warning now.
I'm going to miss you too, Russell.
Well, that's kind. Thank you. I'm going to miss all of you, that's for sure.
I'll go ahead, Mr. Chair, and I'll leave you to the end, like always. I want to say, Russell, thanks a lot for your service, like I said earlier, and really appreciate it. And I've known you for a while now, but it's been a pleasure working with you here, and I've learned a lot. So thank you, and wish you the best. Stay out of trouble. Keep them out of trouble.
Oh, she does.
Oh, she does.
She does. So, well, thank you, Supervisor. I appreciate that.
And I'm pretty sure we'll be here once in a while.
Yeah, once in a while.
Once
I'm
in a
sure
while
that
you'll hear.
I'll have 2 cents every once in a while.
So just send them to Tony. And I attended the YMPO meeting, and I tried to get into on the cinema's call, and I had issues trying to get in, so finally I gave up.
Yeah.
But Mr. Chair.
Well, guys, it's been a tough year. I wanted to start by thanking especially the staff and administration, from Desiree, Christine, Amelia, Cindy, Annie, Barbara, Gemini. There's so many people that, helped us get through that. Sometimes we forget we're just a part of a team. Channel 77, Kevin, Albert, the whole team, administration, Susan, Ian, Paul, Hill, and his staff, the health department, Diana Gomez and Maria Nunez. There's so many people I'd like to personally thank. This was a very difficult year to get through. And, the first beginning with the board, I think that some of the decisions that were made along the way might not have been easy, but they were made easier by the way you guys all handle yourselves individually and as a team. I've always said that it's been an honor and a privilege for the years that I've been in the board to have been able to do what we've been able to do together. So I just wanted to make sure that before the end of this year, and it's been a year that it's a memorable year for not necessarily the right reasons, but you guys have certainly made it so that we could get through this year. I was hoping to get to the vaccine, but I guess I just couldn't make it. I've been isolated for a while, and when you're going through that isolation is when you really miss the presence and the banter from you guys. And so I just wanted to say that. I wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and somehow you got to make it merry. You got to make it work for you, and you have to remember that we're in a very difficult situation. So please be an example to everyone, and stay safe, stay healthy. Hopefully, we'll be able to see each other next year, with one notable exception, which may make it just merrier, but who knows? Thanks a lot for all the help and the support you've given me throughout this year. This has been a really tough year, and I don't think we could have gotten through without that, that support. I know that we keep saying that Yuma County is a special place, and I can tell you right now, it is a special place, and it's because of you guys and because of the people in Yuma County. I have experienced that throughout this year. This has been a difficult year, as I said before, so I just want to leave you with lots of thanks. And see you next year. Hopefully everything will get better. There should be a light at the end of the tunnel, and it isn't Russell coming with a truck or something. So hopefully it'll be better. And thank you again, Russ, very much for your years of service. And I don't know whether congratulations can be given to your wife, because she now has to deal with you all the time, which is not something I'm not sure she's looking forward to that. But and again, maybe that license plate that you have will work this time for you. So anyway, thank you very much, everybody, and I'll see you soon. Okay, take care of yourselves and stay healthy.
Thank you for all the love,
You,
Supervisor.
Tony. Take care, Tony.
Take care, Tony.
Get well.
Get some rest. Don't talk too much.
Well, that's going to be difficult.
Susan?
You sound better.
Yeah.
Better or bitter?
Better.
So since our last meeting, I participated in the Arizona County Insurance Pool Board of Directors, the CSA County Administrators Meeting, the CSA Board Meeting, the YSIPTA Board, presented a county update to the Chamber of Commerce Executive Board, and of course, as part of the CSA meetings, we discussed the redistricting process, which Ian referred to under his update as well. So I'm working on an RFP. And I guess all the other counties are waiting for me to finish this so they can borrow mine. We'll provide that happily. So I've got it circulating with among other staff members for their comments about the process. And then, of course, as part of that, the board will identify and select a redistricting advisory committee, similar to the other commissions that you put together. And then also you'll be, of course, part of the interview process, assuming we get multiple proposals from the redistricting consulting firms. So I'll keep you updated as that continues. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anything else? Motion.
Just Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you, Russell.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a great run.
Meeting adjourned.